Greetings. We are the Nintendo Underground team. You probably have never heard of us, and if so, then we've done our job correctly for these past 8 years. We are calling out Nintendo today, because they've been ignoring our emails, and now the time has come to take action. The ideas and complaints in this message to Nintendo have been generated with our personal opinions, as well as the complaints and opinions from various forums and comments on articles. So like Mario would say, here we go. We are writing to you today regarding the Wii's Virtual Console. As much as the Wii is one of the best game systems we have owned since the original NES and that the games are out of this world, we feel that the Virtual Console aspect is a letdown. We will explain all the negative aspects that a lot of Wii owners have discussed on the web regarding the Virtual Console. Please note, we know that you pretty much had nothing but positive remarks for the past year, but we feel that the press has been kind of easy on you, so be aware that the following might be a bit harsh. First point. Pricing. Although N64 games seem to be worth that $10 price tag, the games for the other systems aren't worth all of these dollars. After 10 years of using it, we are well aware how emulation works, and for systems predating the 32-bit era, $5 for NES, $6 for TG16, and $8 for Genesis and SNES is a bit too much. Once you get an emulator started for these old systems, most games, excluding games with special chips or color palettes, will work with little effort or modifications. Packaging Sonic the Hedgehog with an emulator and charging $8 US, when all the Sonic on Genesis can be purchased on GameCube for $20 at Walmart, kind of leaves a sour taste in our mouths. Legal issue aside, we can name you about 5 sites that will distribute these old games for free, and that have been doing so for a while. If you wish for people to stop doing PC emulation and pay for VC games, try to be a bit more persuasive with the prices. Considering that digital distribution costs nothing in terms of production line, that these games are over 10 years old, that the profit has long been made, that production costs have long been recovered, and that Genesis games are $3 US cheaper on Xbox Live Arcade, you my friends are pocketing a bit too much profit here. Second point. Modification and enhancements. Speaking of Xbox Live Arcade, it would be worth noting that the Genesis games are not only $3 cheaper than on the Virtual Console, but that they also have enhancements such as filtering, removing pixels, HD resolution, online play for multiplayer games, and scoreboards. I very much doubt that Sega has agreed to make less money for their games simply because it's on Xbox 360, so this must mean that the publisher, Microsoft, of these Genesis games is simply asking for less money than you are. Even if Microsoft's budget can't be compared to any other company in this business, you have to be a bit embarrassed by this. Point. We would be. Nintendo has once stated that they would not modify games because they wanted to leave them as they were on the original game system. Alright, let's say we'll buy this and agree with this way of thinking. Then how do you explain the mutilation of some of the games currently on the Virtual Console? Things like password feature removed, slowdowns that weren't there on the original games, missing controller pack feature for N64 games, difference in music and sound effects, and removal of rumble features in N64 games. Really makes a gamer wonder if you consider us to be fools. Third point. Basic Nintendo 64 emulation. While we are on the subject of N64 games, let's go into details. It's one thing to know that rare titles such as GoldenEye, Perfect Dark and Killer Instinct Gold will never make it to the DC. But did you have to deprive us of the controller pack feature and most importantly, the rumble feature, which you proudly introduced back in 1997? Nintendo changed gaming back then. When this feature was introduced, it brought the sense of touch into the gameplay, where before, only sight and hearing were treated. Even Sony is now realizing that it was a bad idea to leave rumble out of their controllers, and are now reworking the 6-axis to add rumble. We very much doubt that it was impossible for you to implement controller pack and rumble pack features, especially since it's possible for homemade N64 PC emulators to use the technology, and that when you made Zelda Ocarina and Majora's Mask for GameCube, rumble was working. For the controller packs, making little files of 256 KB on the Wii's internal memory, and have the emulators use those wouldn't be any problem, since N64 emulators for PC can achieve this in their beta versions. considering that a lot of third-party games required the controller pack to save. You pretty much lost that support, if you decide to stay like this. As for rumble feature, true, the classic controllers do not have any rumble, but Wiimotes do. The Wiimotes aren't without their features when using the classic controllers. They are still alive and they could very well act as the rumble packs for the N64 games. Sure, unless people use Nico's classic controller's grip accessory, the rumble will have to be on their laps or in their pocket, but so what, better than nothing. More importantly, it's safe to say that anyone with a GameCube controller will feel more comfortable playing with that than a classic controller when it comes to N64 games, simply because of the left analog stick position and the better grip. Rumble is included with GameCube corded controllers, so that would solve this problem. Fourth and final point. Internal memory. Although the Wii will not go down in history as the console with the least amount of internal save memory, it will go down in history as the one where their maker were too cheap to add more. The Wii was released at the end of the year 2006. 2GB SD cards fetch at around $25 US at wholesale, and you're telling us that you couldn't even add a full gig for save data and VC games? As it stands, only 270 MB, more or less 2,165 blocks, out of 512 MB of the internal storage memory can be used for save data and virtual console games. The Wii system uses the rest for other purposes. This means that a person would not be able to have 12 N64 games on the internal memory at the same time, and we're including the fact that nothing else is using the storage capacity. Yes, people can delete and re-download, and yes, people can store on SD cards, but we can assure you that it's not convenient. Let's look at the minimal amount of time and effort this would take, by saying that you already have this game on your SD card and that you're already on the first page of your Wii channels. Step 1. Click on the Wii settings, go to Data Management and Channels. Step 2. Delete one game that will allow you to put the desired VC game on the internal memory. Step 3. Click on the SD card tab, click on the desired game, choose the Copy to Internal Memory option, and wait. Step 4. After the copying is done, return to your Wii channels and choose your game. 5 times we did all of that with Zelda Ocarina of Time, and each and every time, the results were the same, 1 minute and 50 seconds it took us. The time will vary depending on the size of the game, but the fact remains that it's not convenient and it defeats the purpose of emulation, which is simplicity. One of us, who still has a Nintendo 64 system in his closet, was able to take it out, hook it up, plug in 4 controllers, put in the game, turn on the system, put his TV to the right input, and hit start on controller 1, before the copying process on the Wii was done. Sure, you don't have 12 N64 games up for grab right now, but what about when you do? An external Wii drive would be nice, but it's not necessary, when you could simply update the firmware to allow Wii channels to be read from SD cards, and although 2 GB is enough, you could also make an update to allow 4 GB cards to be read. 4 GB would be more than enough for a large collection of VC games and WiiWares. To conclude, the Virtual Console is something that is supposed to make you easy money, but you're not helping yourself, and you're bound to hit a brick wall soon enough. Sure, you had almost 6 million downloads so far, but what does it say? There are less downloads than Wii owners. For all we know, maybe most people just bought a single game for the sake of trying the Virtual Console aspect. That would be more than enough to get you that 6 million downloads. This theory could be valid when considering that Virtual Console sales have dropped lately. We hope that you'll put as much thoughts in your reply as we have did in writing this. Sincerely, the Nintendo Underground Team.